Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So the other day I made a short video talking about the 4 relationships that God is playing in my life right now, and I just wanted to go into deeper detail of what that looks like and just little things that have been happening that better explain those 4 relationships. So just to give a recap, the 4 relationships were God. I can see God acting as my father. I can see God acting as my husband. I can see God acting as my best friend, and I can see God acting as my therapist, which I ain't gonna lie, that one really took me like as like by surprise. It took me by surprise. I ain't gonna lie. So let's break it down. So God acting as my father, and it's funny because even though I grew up with a background in Christianity, I still never understood really like the whole like calling God like your father. I don't know. It was just weird to me, like calling God my father, because it's like God is there, and then I'm here, and then father is a human thing to me. That's like a human word to me. And it was just like, I don't know. I didn't understand it, even though, I've heard it all the time. So when I say God acting as my father, I mean it as if I'm talking about like literal, like being like a dad, like a biological father. And I feel like some of the ways, and I'm really just going to speak about the one way that this shows up for me, like the one main way that I just know for a fact, like, yo, God is like my dad right now. Like, so, in Islam, when a woman gets married, she has to have, well, just period, but, coming from like America with it, it's usually for marriage, but it's not supposed to be just for marriage. But when a woman gets married, she has a wali. And I'm just, not even when she just gets married, because I want that to be clear. A woman has a wali in Islam. She has a wali, which is a male guardian over her, which is usually like her father or someone on her father's side. If her father is not around, it's maybe like her older brother, or, someone from her father's lineage that can be her guardian to keep her protected, that can, just really to keep her protected, take care of her. That's the role of the wali, to be her guardian. That's her guardian, right? So when you get married, you have to go through your wali. So there was a bunch of times where when I was like really practicing Islam, I would go on sit downs, is what we call them here in Philly. I don't want to say that's everywhere. I don't know. But in Philly, we go on sit downs, and it's when your wali hooks you up with a brother, and y'all might have conversations. Now, the masjid that I went to, and my wali, he was very involved in this, and he wanted to make sure that it was extensive, like it was an extensive process. So he would, I never really got far with it. I think I went on like one date, but my wali was there. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about Islam, is the way that the men keep the women protected. There is no, and I know a lot of people look at that as control, but for me, I look at it as a protection. And somebody who comes from, like, I don't have men. Like, I don't have a lot of men in my family. I don't come from like a heavy male dominated family, so I didn't have that protection, like brothers and uncles that can come fight on my behalf or tell me like, no, you ain't going out with him. I never had that. So it made me go through a lot of heartache, a lot of trouble, having to figure these guys out on my own. So when I stepped into Islam, I loved that, you had to have a wali come vet these men for you. You cannot just marry anybody and be like, oh, well, I love him, I want to marry him. No, your wali, has to vet this man. Now, at the end of the day, you still have the say, and if you want to marry him or not. But like, if your wali tells you like, yo, he not cool, he not this, that, and the third, he's not ready for marriage, it'll behoove you to listen to him, because men know men, and they're not coming with a heart of like, oh, but I can save him, but I see his potential. Because women, a lot of time, we just don't know how to, it's not until we have to be taught that sometimes, you know what I mean? Because we don't have those boundaries for ourselves. So anyway, so the wali, you know, he would come first. He would ask the guy all the hard questions, all the questions that need to be asked. He's looking to see, like, are you ready to be a husband? Can you take care of this young woman? Not even just financially, but that's a big one too. Can you care for her mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially? Like, are you going to be a good husband? And I really loved that about Islam. And if it wasn't for Islam teaching me about like male guardianship and like what a father role is, I would never, I don't know if I would know, you know what I mean? It would take me so long to have learned that lesson, because I do believe that God would still have taught me that lesson, but I believe that's how God taught me what a father is supposed to be. So fast forward to now, how I see God showing up in my life as a father. I always say God is preparing me for marriage, and it's true. You know, God is preparing me for marriage. So anytime, I'm rarely interested in people, like in guys, and I've always been like that. I'm very picky. I don't want to say picky. I'm selective. You know, now I've dated before, and I've had, you know, that I've dated. So I ain't that selective, because I'm more selective now with me following God than I was back then. But even then, I was still a little selective. But anyway, so one thing, every time I'm interested in somebody, which is far and few between, like I am rarely interested in a man. But when I see myself interested in somebody, I'll always be like, God, what you think of this person? God, tell me. Like, I'll go to God about it as if he is my wali, like he is my father, like he is my male guardian. You know what I mean? He's that father figure to me. So I always go to God, and I'm talking to God about any man that I'm interested in. And let me tell you, God always answers. I want to tell you a story about how there was this one guy, and I really, like, I had a strong interest in him. Like, it was just interest. It's always just interest. I have yet to date anyone that I was interested in. I guess it just wasn't the time for me. Maybe now it's time, because I am kind of interested in somebody now, but that's neither here nor there. I could talk about that another time if it goes somewhere. Anyway, so it's always just an interest. Like, just, he don't know that I'm interested in him. I don't know what he's thinking about me. It's just an interest. So there was this guy that I was interested in, and I would just look on his Instagram. I've been around him a few times, so I just listen to him talk, you know, because I'll never put myself out there like that. Not until God nudges. And I just don't believe, for me, God will nudge me. God is going to nudge that man. I'm going to pray. I will pray, God, nudge that man to say something to me. I'm not, from everything I went through in my past, I'm not the girl who's going to come over to any man and say anything. And honestly, another thing I love about Islam, it teaches you that we shouldn't really do that. That is not appropriate to do. And I agree. So I don't do that. That is not, my teachings do not allow me. My teachings from experience and from what Islam has taught me, I'm not walking up to no man and saying I'm interested in him. There are subtle ways that I might, you know, go about it. Maybe give him a little eye, a little look. You know what I mean? If he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, give a little smile. That's about it. If a man can't catch that, then that ain't the man for me. Anyway, so, yeah, so I always ask God, like, you know, like, what's up with him? Like, what you think about him? That's literally how I talk to God. I'm like, so God, I'm interested in him. You know, I just want to let you, as if God doesn't already know. But still, that's how I'm talking to God. God, so I'm interested in him. What do you think about him? What, you know, what is it about? So I'm asking about this guy, whatever. And at first, I'm not sure what God, like, I felt like God wasn't really saying anything. Not that I can remember. And then, now this guy, he's a little younger than me. So I always take that, you know, to me, that means he's just not developed spiritually. Like, to me, that's a reason why he's not developed spiritually. You know, he's not too far. He's probably like 4 or 5 years younger than me. But I noticed that he does not talk about God. He's one of them He's in a season right now, or in a space right now, because I don't know what the Lord has for him, in the future. But he's in a space right now where he's one of the people that's like, God is in all of us are God, and that type of stuff. Like, I don't know, just, very much like God is, we're all God, and I've been there kinda. So I don't judge. I'm not judging, because like I've been in that season of praying to the universe and all types of stuff. So who am I to judge? So, I'm still, and I see this, but I'm like, no, maybe I can. This is exactly why, listen, ladies, this is why it's important to have a man in your life, because here I am, a woman of God who wants a man of God. But here, this is what I said. I said, well, okay, it don't seem like he really is in, like, he doesn't understand God right now. And I could tell that he kind of needs some spiritual growth, because he's not acknowledging God. He think God is all of us. And this is what I said. I'm like, but maybe I can help him in that area. That was a red flag right there, because the least that can happen is that he has a belief in, he might not have a strong relationship with God, as strong as me, but he got to have a relationship with the Lord. You know what I mean? And I that showed me that he didn't have a relationship with God, because he's talking about we're gods, and he's not really acknowledging God. He's just like, we're all gods, stuff like that. So this goes on for a little bit. Mind you, I don't really know. I've been around him a little bit because we had worked in the same space, but that's all. So, but there's just an interest because he's a smart man, you know what I mean? He's financially literate, he's smart, you know what I mean? He's handsome. So I'm like, oh, my interest is piqued. That's it. So one day, I'm looking at the guy's Instagram, and he had something that was like, no gods. It was flat out like something about it, not no gods. And I just remember feeling like, oh no, this is crazy. I'm about to unfollow him right now. He's not for me. I'm not. This is a little. I don't like this. I'm about to unfollow him. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, well, wait, should I though? Should I really unfollow him? Like, is it that deep? And I look up, and then there's a parked car, and the car's license plate, I'm not lying, the license plate said no gods. I said, oh, okay, Lord, I see what you say. I unfollowed that man immediately. And after that, my interest was gone, like that. After that, I had no more interest in that man. And so that to me is God, you know what I mean? And I had talked to God about him before, you know what I mean? So I think that I really believe that God did not answer me immediately. One, because something I'm also noticing is that God is trying to build my discernment. Like, I really see that now. Like, God, because God could have said no immediately when I first asked about him. Like, yeah, no, that ain't for you. But I think that God let it go on that little bit of time, not long. He let it go on a little bit because he wanted me to see what type of man is for me. No, you want someone who is for sure has a relationship with the Lord. Like, all of that, no, you cannot. That's not something you can do. So God became a father in that moment, and he taught me, what to look for in a man. And God continues to do that. So ever since then, was that the first time? I think that was the first time I went to God. It might be the first time, because like I said, I don't really have interest in guys a lot, but with that man, I know I went to God about it. And then every time after, now I go to God, like there was only 2 other times after that. There's the time now where I have interest in someone, and there was a time in between that. And I always ask God as if he is my father, like my dad. And I'm going to use the word dad, because when I say father, I know people already call God their father. So really biological dad, like a dad. So God shows up for me every time, and that is how I go to God as a father. Like, I'm going to him, and how he's showing up as my dad. He's really helping me to vet these men, and he's guiding me and giving me advice on who's for me, and showing me this is the type of man you want, this is how, stuff like that. So I'm just like, okay, And he's protecting me too. Like, he keeps me protected, because I might think I want somebody, and God will be like, yeah, no, that ain't it. That's a father, that's a dad. And for somebody who didn't grow up with a strong father figure or males like that, I love that relationship with God, because it's going to be so important with me when it comes to me, and my husband. Like, I need to know what to choose, like, even when God starts allowing me to, go from just having interest in somebody to, okay, go ahead and date. Now I feel like God can, this just came to my head. Now that God can trust me with even who I'm interested in, maybe now he can trust me with, okay, let me let her go out on a date now, so she can get a little further insight of discernment on these men, or, somebody she's interested in. Oh, let me find out. God gonna let me start dating. Okay, period. I don't know. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on that. So, because I did pray that God will let me go on a date with the guy. The guy never even really, and he gave me a little bit of, but I don't even know if this man even has interest in me. He seemed like he did. But I did say a little prayer. I said, God, if this man has interest back in me, let him talk to me. You know what I mean? So maybe God will push this man to talk to me, and then maybe God will let me go on a date now. I don't know. Okay, anyway, because I just went on a whole little, what was on my thoughts tangent. So, okay, so that's how God shows up as a father, like as a dad to me. Now, this is how God shows up as my best friend. This is probably the relationship that most of you have with God, where you could just talk to God. I literally, and I said this in the shorter video that I made, I literally talk to God as if he is sitting in my passenger seat with me, because I love talking to God in the car. He's sitting in my passenger seat with me, and I'm just chatting. God, you see how that boy... Okay, listen, because, can I just tell y'all a little story? The guy that I am interested in a little bit, like, he shared his pizza. Like, he bought pizza one day, and he shared it with, like, me and one of my friends. So, I got back in the car and was like, God, you see how he shared that pizza? He ain't had to do that. And I'm on Kiki, and I think that, so I don't really know if God says anything back to me. Not that I can remember, but I know I just feel safe with saying all this stuff to God. That, like, even sometimes with, like, a best friend, like, I don't feel safe all the time saying stuff to my best friends, because, like, my friends, some of them, I only have, like, a small circle of friends, literally probably, like, a handful, less than 5 friends. And I don't want them, to, like, critique me, hold me accountable, remind me of something. Right now, I'm just in a giddy little space. I just want to be giddy right now. And I don't want you, like, telling me I'm corny or, like, I'm overthinking. Not that they wrong, but I don't want to hear that at that moment, So I go to God with it, and I'm just like, you see how he did this? Oh, you know what else I do? And I can't help doing this. I tried to stop it, but I will, like, plan my whole life. Yes, I will. Let me not even sit here and lie. I will plan when I'm interested, because anybody can be my husband. I wanted them, like, okay, it could be him, because I know I'm getting married. I know God is preparing me for marriage. So anyone can be my husband. So when I have interest in somebody, I'm like, oh, it's him. So I start, like, I'm like, okay, because that's going to be cute, because he the little bit that I might know about somebody. I'm talking about the little bit. Okay, because he going to do this, and we might do this, and okay, we going to have this, and oh yeah, he But I could chat with God about all of that without sounding delusional, because one of my girlfriends might be like, girl, pump your brakes, you sound crazy. And it's like, girl, I'm just chatting, I'm just excited, let me chat. So I chat with God all the time. That's how God shows up as my best friend, like, just allowing me to chat. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes God might answer my little chats with, like, little advice or something, but God knows how to do it at the right timing and when I need it. Like, he's gonna be soft with it. Like, one of my girlfriends, they might be like, I told you not to do that, or something. I don't really do much that they have to tell me not to do something. But I am kind of corny with stuff, and, like, a little naive with stuff. So they might tell me, like, something like that. That might be a little sting, like, oh, man. So anyway, I chat to God about it all. That's the person that I can chat with about anything without feeling like I'm about to be criticized or judged. Mind you, all my friends, I have good godly friends, so they're not really going to judge me, but they might say something that I didn't want to hear at that moment. I didn't want the reality check. I didn't want the accountability. I didn't want the criticism. I just want to sit here and kiki about, whatever I want to chat about. And sometimes, I go to God because one of my friends, they might not understand, or they might got a lot going on. You know what I mean? So I can't just bombard them with my stuff and they sitting here talking about how heavy something is being a mom, and you know what I mean? Now I'm about to try to chat about whatever I'm chatting about. No, I go to God with that. I chat with God all the time. That's how God shows up as my best friend. What else? Okay, God as my husband. Now, I believe that God is presenting himself as a husband to me because he is preparing me on what qualities to look for. Because like I said, I didn't grow up with many males around me. I don't know of, now as an adult, I know a lot of like healthy marriages, but even still, you really don't get into those people's marriages, So that's like, I don't know what a husband is supposed to be like. Now I will say, I know a little bit because, like I said, in Islam, they teach you that. One thing about Islam is going to teach you the behavior of somebody who's righteous. The behavior of a righteous person. This is what a man is supposed to be like. This is what a husband is supposed to be like. This is what a family structure is supposed to look like. They got that down pat. I'm just saying. So I know a little bit about, from Islam, I know a little bit about the role of a husband, but not a lot. Not a lot, and not about my husband, because every woman is different, and the husband that God has for me is going to really complement who I am as a person and as a woman, and as the woman that God is molding me to be. So I feel like God is like showing me what that is supposed to look like. So I know this is going to sound like trivial and petty, but God knows me and he knows what I need. So it could be little things. God spoils me. And I know he's showing up as a husband because, like I said in my shorter video, I feel like a grown woman who just got like, whose husband was just like, no, babe, I got that. Oh, you wanted that to eat? No, I got you. Like literally, like God. One time I wanted sushi. I wanted a poke bowl. And I used to go to the market to get the poke bowls, and they already made. And sometimes they don't have them. Like it was like a little later in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope they have the one I like. Or like they'll have one that has like the mangoes in it that is good, but it's not as good as the one I like. So I'm driving there and I'm just like, God, please let them have it. Like, please let them have it. And then I just told myself, like, if they don't have it, it's whatever. Because I'm like, I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm like, if they don't have it, it's whatever. I walk in there and they had it. And it was like one more. And I get in the car because one thing I'm going to do, I do everything. I love it. I'm going to eat in my car. It's like my safe space. It's my place of peace. I love it. So I get in the car and I just feel like God was saying to me, like, yeah, girl, I got you. And that's how God talks to me. That's how God, my husband, talks to me. He's so like slick and fine with it. He's just like, yeah, I got you. You already know I got you. And that sushi time was the first time that God showed up like that. I was like, oh, okay, period, God. Yes. God said, no, I got you. Like, you wanted it, I got you. And he has continuously done that for me and it just feels like husband. It feels different than father. Like, it feels like husband. Like, your husband, he gonna have you. He gonna spoil you. He gonna enjoy spoiling you. And my life and what I've been through, I really believe that I deserve that. And I'm one of them people who always reciprocate. I ain't gonna say I reciprocate. I always give and support. I've rarely had reciprocation. So I know I deserve that. You know what I mean? I deserve that. And I really feel like God is going to bless me with a man who is catering. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to feel like I am his assignment to care for. And he's going to love caring for me. Like, what do you need? Like, I got you. I want you to have it because God put it on my heart that you deserve it. And I'm going to do all of that for you and more. And I'm just saying, that's how God acts for me. That's how God acts for me. I can rely on God. I said this in my shorter video. When it comes to financial matters, I do not worry. I do not worry. I do not know where the next dollar is going to come from. I don't know. You know why? Because God is my provider, and it shows up in a way of husband. It's not like a father daughter, because I know when I feel like a daughter, I'm coming to God. Like when I feel like God is acting as my dad, I feel like a little girl. But when I feel like God is my husband, I feel like a grown woman who is just giving it over to God, because it's too big for me to handle. I'm not handling that. I still feel like a grown woman though. It's just, yeah, I can't handle that. I'm not dealing with that. And it's a lot of times with financial matters. A lot of times it's with financial matters. I give all my financial matters to God because it's too big for me. That's an area, and everybody is different. That's why it's really good to learn who you are, because you start thinking about, well, this girl, she know how to be a boss and she a hustler and shit. Yeah, that's good for her. That's not me though. Mind you, I'm going to take care. I'm more of I like to be of service. So like the spaces that I even work, like I work with children, which, you know what I mean? Or like I want to be a speaker, like a motivational speaker type of person, or I like talking. I'm not a hustler type of boss girl. I'm not that type of boss. So like with financial matters, the Lord a lot of times has to take care of me in that area, because it's not something that I'm good at. Now the Lord also knows, like, okay, girl, I'm gonna provide for you, but I need for you to be a good servant and go to these folks, and like, God know, like, oh, you want me to take care of that part? I got that, you got that, cool. Oh, you know what else I just noticed? I also partner with God. Even at my job though, I also partner with God. Like when something is too heavy for me, I'll be like, God, I'm checking out. I need you to come. Let me find out God going make me be a mom too of some sort. Listen, I don't know. All I know, because I'm a big nurturer and I'm very good with children. Very, very good. And I love children, even children that's not mine. Like I don't have kids, but like I love children as if they are my own. So I don't know if God's going to have me be a stepmom maybe. I don't know. All right, now I'm doing too much, right? I don't know. But all I know is that sometimes when things get too heavy, I'll be like, all right, God, you got it. You got it. Let me go recharge and I'll come back. And this could be honestly with anything. With taking care of my mom, because I take care of my mom. If it's too big for me, I'm like, all right, God, please, I'm tired. Just let me rest. Can you get this? And I feel like that's how God is showing up as a husband, because it's a partnership between me and God. It's like, I know I don't have to do it all on my own, because I have someone here who is working with me on this. So that's how God shows up as a husband. And it's crazy because I usually think about it only in the financial matters, because I can see that for sure. But also when it comes to like just me being having a partner, somebody to help me with the things that I need to take care of. Like I said, like my mom. Sometimes I can't. It's overwhelming. It's tiring. It's a lot. And I just be like, God, please step in. I can't do it. And hopefully, let me find out my husband's going to be super supportive like that. Okay, to God be the glory. But so, excuse me, sorry. That's how God shows up as a husband. Now, the therapist. And I want to break this down, but I also want to say, I ain't gonna lie. I when I first realized this, I said, yay! I don't have to go to therapy for real. And I don't know if that's true or not. So I just want to throw that out there. I might really need and I'm gonna tell you why why I'm saying this. Because when I said, yay, I don't gotta find a real therapist, the thought came to my head that was like, okay, I guess you don't gotta find a real husband either. And I said, well, hold up now. Pump the brakes. Because I want my physical husband. I love God, and I enjoy God providing for me and being my husband. But I do want a husband, like a physical husband as well. You know what I mean? So as soon as I had that thought of like, yay, I don't need no therapist, that other thought like, oh, well, I guess you don't need no husband either, that came in, and I said, okay, never mind. I do. Thank you, Lord, for, showing me and helping me to at least uncover and expose certain things. But, I probably need a real therapist at some point too, Dang, because it's like just hitting me right now, because I really thought that like God is my therapist and that's it and that's all. But yeah, so God has showed up. I have went through something at my job that is like a repeated thing. I continuously, and I guess I'm just going to be open and transparent right here. I don't know what it is. Well, I do now because God became my therapist. Whatever trauma I went through as a child, now as an adult, it shows up as I do not know how to respect authority. No, I have a respect for authority, but I think I don't understand the levels. Like, authority might be here. I'm supposed to be here. There's a certain way to submit to authority that, like, yeah, I don't. Especially if I feel like authority is not being considerate of me and my feelings, or they're not communicating effectively, then I'm one of the people who I'm going to say how I feel, and my emotions might get so like upset and I'm so passionate, I don't know how to regulate them in that moment. So I'll say whatever to authority. And this always shows up at my jobs. I'll say whatever to authority in whatever way. And now, being a woman of God, I have learned I'm not about to go fight nobody. This is still work. And I try my best to hold it back, but it's like I still say something. I'm still speaking in a way that authority does not like to be talked to. My bosses do not like to be talked, and that's all my bosses. So that's how I kind of knew it was me. I was the problem, because it was happening in every job. Like I said, I'm not the disrespectful like type that's like about to go fight my bosses and nothing like that. But I had to learn that there's even a way. You cannot have emotional outbursts. Like, and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm having an emotional outburst. Maybe I can come back and say sorry or explain to them, or even like try to talk out of it, or, you know, something like maybe I'll just in the middle of the us arguing, I'll be like, listen, I'm gonna walk away. I'm thinking that that's doing something, and I'm sure that is too, but it's still a problem. You cannot have these emotional outbursts to your authority. Like, you shouldn't be having them at all, I'm gonna be honest. But there's a way to speak to somebody who you're submitting to, who you're in a who's a, you know, who authority. There's a way to speak to them, and I have a hard time dealing with that. So, you know, like I said, it's happened at almost all of my jobs. So it just happened recently, and now it's like, all right, now I'm looking like, all right, let me see where I am the problem and how I can change. You know what I mean? Now it's like, all right, this is getting ridiculous, because usually with the bosses, they are a-holes. You know what I mean? Like, they're not really good. But with this one, it's like, okay, he's a nice, literally, I prayed to have a good boss and he showed up. So now I'm like, all right, something's not right here, because he's good. He's a good man. He's a good leader. So now I'm sure he got his stuff with him too, and God could possibly use that situation to teach both of us. But my focus is on the lesson that I need to be learning. So God taught me within that like, and that's where me being slow to anger. I don't know if I talked about that before, but God keeps reminding me, slow to anger. The verse about being slow to anger. But he revealed to me with this situation that this stems from childhood trauma. And he revealed that, like, something my sister said to me, and I was just like, wow. And I just knew, it just felt like that came from God. And especially because, like, when my sister has things, she'll acknowledge, like, God must have wanted me to say that to you. And, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't never, like, if it's not the credit of her own, she'll say it. Like, God must have wanted me to say that to you because da-da-da. So when she said it to me, I'm just like, oh my God. Like, and it was a lot, you know what I mean? Like, it's heavy. Like, when God breaks things, oh my God, he did it. Oh, he also did it with something else too. I think God had been my therapist twice within those 2 weeks. Oh, I must be in an accelerated class, because God, it's just becoming like this. Like, and let me just tell you, sometimes I'll be so weary and I just be like, God, I need rest, and God will allow me to rest, you know? So if you are going through a season where God is like, you got accelerated learning and you start to feel tired, ask God to give you some rest, because God does say in the scripture that he will provide rest for the weary. So make sure you ask God for your rest, because that happens to me all the time. Like, because I'm seeking God, because now I'm on fire for the Lord. I'm like, God, what else? And, God downloads it. He gives it to me, but I have to always be like, all right, God, I need rest now. And, so like it usually happens at night before I go to bed. I'll give it to God and I'll be like, all right, I need rest. But anyway, back to God being my therapist, because I felt like, mind you, I only been in therapy a few little bit of times, but when that was revealed to me, in both times, I felt so heavy and just wanted to cry, because it felt like I had learned something about myself that I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. And for like, God revealed it to me, and it hurt a little bit, because you think about, I could cry right now. You think about all the years you went with this thing and not even knowing that it was a thing. And you were like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I was behaving like this for so long. And because it stemmed from that. It stemmed from being neglected. And this is my real story. Like, I'm a child. I come from a life of neglect, literally. Like a lot of neglect. And it just like, it stems from being neglected, and it's like, wow. And as I just never knew, when you were a child, like, and me, I was the type of child that I was so naive to everything. I didn't know I was being neglected. So when you hear it as an adult and you're like, oh snap, it's hard. It's sad. Especially me, I work with children. It's like, it's so sad. And it's just heavy. And it's like, yo, that's why I'm the way I am. That's why I'm like this. Because of all of that. So when God revealed all of that to me, first of all, God, I didn't even know I was neglected as a child. Do you understand how hurtful that is to hear that you were neglected? It's like, I kind of knew, but like, I know because like my sister, she like, and sorry, because it's a lot. My sister's older than me, so she remembers a lot of the neglect, but I'm younger, and even though I was neglected, I was still taken care of, but I was not nurtured. So I really had no idea that I was not being nurtured, because I still had people taking care of me, but they were not nurturing me. You know what I mean? And then at one point, that was little child. And then as I became a teenager, my mom got really, really sick, and I was on my own. Literally, I was in survival mode at like the age of 16. I didn't even graduate high school yet, and I had to literally figure out how to survive. Still not knowing that was a problem, because I had my older sister who still kind of looked out for me, not knowing that we in survival mode. So a lot of times, like, I'll tell my friends like little things, or like I'll say little stuff about it. They're like, what, girl? And we all from Philly, so it's like none of us had the best, of life. Like, we all have our stuff with us, but like some of my friends will be like, oh my God, what? And I'm like, well, what y'all mean? Like, why are y'all saying it as if? And one of my friends had to tell me, like, girl, that's bad. Like, and I'm like, that's bad? Like, what you mean? Is people out here literally dying, or seeing people die and all of that? And she's like, yeah, but I'm like, that's not normal for where we come from. She said, no, your story is a little bit not, you know what I mean? I said, what? No, that's not true. That's not true. My mom is in college. No, sorry. If you get that joke, you get it. But like, I had no idea that I was neglected all my life. You know what I mean? Or like, I was in struggle all my life. I had no idea. So when God exposed that as a therapist, when he exposed that, it was heavy. And it was also good to hear and to know, but it was sad and it was heavy. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful because my motivation for me, one, I just love the Lord so much because he saved my life, literally saved my life. So like I'm really on fire this time around to be a follower of God and to be a good servant of the Lord. And also, I have a strong desire to be a wife. So when God does these things, you know, reveals certain things for me, I just have a heart of gratitude because I'm like, God, you're molding me. You're really helping me to have a healthy marriage, to be the best version of myself that I can be. And like when he revealed that to me, and now he keeps reminding me, be slow to anger, I just feel so grateful because like I would never want to get into my marriage when God does bless me with my husband and start going off on him. I would hate that. That is not going to be healthy. So God exposing that I have some type of like I don't do well with like authority and with just like with submitting to authority. I'm so happy that the Lord exposed that because I don't want to take that into my marriage where my husband now is the leader and he's in authority, or you know what I mean, over our family. And the littlest thing or some slight miscommunication, here I am blowing up at him and he looking at me like, girl, what? Do you understand? And imagine doing that in front of our children. And my husband ain't the type of man. I just know this because I know I'm not going to choose no husband. God's not going to bring me a husband. Like, my husband is not going to be the type where I need to be blowing up on him. Just like my supervisor wasn't the type where I need to be blowing up on him. That's not the way to go about it. You blowing up on me? No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And I'm just so happy that God exposed that because I could have took that into my marriage and that would have been crazy. You know what I mean? And I can't. So God showing up as a therapist, that really shocked me because I didn't know that was a thing at all. And I don't know why I didn't know that was a thing, but I didn't know it was a thing. And it shocked me because I'm just, and you know, I want to say that once God showed up as my therapist, maybe like a few days later or so, I started learning about what deliverance was. Now, I've always been a believer of God, but I'm just recently a follower of God. So I had no idea what deliverance was. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know what deliverance was. Two things, and I should make videos on this. I didn't know what deliverance was, and I didn't even believe in the devil for a long time. So spiritual attacks, I ain't know nothing about that. Nothing. I knew nothing about it because it was like it wasn't a thing. But those are real things, and it's things that we need to be aware of. Like, God delivered me. I don't know if I want to say if he fully delivered me. I don't know. But he made me aware. And now I pray for deliverance all the time of like my trauma and, you know, even the triggers. I pray all the time, especially the trauma. Deliver me from that trauma that I went through. And like I said, I might still need a therapist. I may or may not. I don't know. You know, I do believe that therapy, I do believe there are some people out here who really need therapy because we might need constant coping mechanisms and we need to be taught that. Some people need medication, you know, to help like just with our like emotional regulation. So I don't know what the future holds for me. I know that God has exposed some things for me, some trauma and some of my triggers, and God has showed up as my therapist. Now, whether he wants me to have a physical therapist or, you know, like he's going to bring me my physical husband, even though he's been showing up as my husband, whether he does that with a therapist as well, you know, that's up to God. God say jump, I say how high. God say go, I say which way. So whatever God says to me, that's what I'm going to do because God knows better than I do. And I want the best. I want the best of whatever life has. And I believe I can only obtain that by following the Lord. So, yes, those are the 4 relationships that God has shown up in my life. I will say I'm excited to see, you know, what else God has for me. And I am going to keep y'all updated on these the interests that I have. I think I'm gonna possibly see him on, I mean, I go to the same place on Fridays all the time, so maybe he'll be there again. And maybe this time he'll say something to me, because I did ask God. I said, Lord, you know, if you think he's good for me to date, you know, then let him say something to me. He's shown that he has been, that he's a, you know, he's a kind person. He's a calm person. He's a confident person. These are some of the characteristics that I've seen that make me even interested in him. He's calm. He's confident. He is giving, like generous. And yeah, I like that. And he's handsome. So I'd like to see more. So I did ask God if he could, you know, have him say something to me. So I'll let y'all know in the next video how that goes. All right.